So I just watched my first movie for 2014. How was it? Mm. So The Legend of Hercules is directed by Rennie Harlin, written by Sean Hood and Daniel Giat, and stars Kellen Lutz, Gaia Weiss, Scott Adkins, and Roxanne McKee, among a bunch of other people. Now, in this retelling of Hercules' origin story, he is now the stepson of this king. Amphitryon is his name, I think, played by Scott Adkins. And this king, he just doesn't like Hercules, played by Kellen Lutz. So he pretty much sends Hercules away on like a suicide mission of sorts. From there, he is taken prisoner and sold into slavery, where he must now fight his way back to his kingdom, save his people from the crazy king, and marry Hebe, played by Gaia Weiss. Yes, it kind of sounds like Gladiator, but this movie is nowhere near Gladiator. This movie is pretty bad. Now, there's a lot of bad stuff to tackle here, but like the worst thing about this, in my opinion, is like the post-production stuff. By this I mean the editing and the CGI. Both are terrible. Editing wise, like this movie has the oddity of feeling both too long and too abrupt at the same time. Like scenes don't seem to fit into each other, and it almost feels like the director just shouted cut as soon as lines are finished being said, because like you have no time to kind of absorb what's being said. Just like cuts to the next one and we're suddenly in a different area. Like there's no sense of continuity really. And visual effects, like from the opening scene, there are so many elements that you can tell are fake. There's fake water, there's fake smoke, fake fire, there's lots of fake fire. There's a scene where this guy is like shooting his arrows like continuously, a CGI guy, and there's no arrow, like you don't see an arrow until his hand goes here and suddenly an arrow pops out. And ah, also in terms of action sequences, and this movie really tries to be like this big action movie instead of really a story about Hercules. It doesn't really feel like Hercules. In these fight scenes, they overuse that whole fast motion, slow motion thing, like, and really, I have no problem with that. It's just that it's overused. Like that's a good trick to use when you have certain money shots that you want to highlight. But if you keep doing it, like it's just tedious to watch, and really it becomes apparent to the viewer that the choreography itself isn't that impressive. It's just the editing that really ruins it. And actually, for me, the stunt coordination and the fight scenes were actually choreographed well, but it would be better to show them like in real time. Now, the thing about having bad editing and bad visual effects in a movie that relies so much on visual effects is that these two components like affect everything else. For one, the sound. There's a lot of sound that doesn't seem to match what it's doing, so you can't really focus on what's being said. But even then, what's being said isn't really worth listening to anyway. So yeah, like segue into the dialogue aspect. The dialogue just isn't there really. I mean, there's like one or two lines in there that's like, oh okay, I guess that was a good line. But then for the it's really just like standard generic bland lines to get you through the story, and there's just adds absolutely no personality to anything. In terms of practical sets and like costumes and stuff, there is actually a decent job done here. It's just that when you have these practical effects against a backdrop of completely fake CGI, everything fake CGI, arena, CGI, sky, it's a disservice to the production designers, because you can't appreciate the work they've done. Kellen Lutz as Hercules, he's not good. He definitely has the physicality for this role, but he has the same face for the entire movie. He just doesn't have the chops, unfortunately, to really bring this character to life. And this character is so interesting. I mean, he has that whole dilemma of, being a demigod. Like, is he more of a man? Is he more of a god? What does he accept? The other actors really, I actually wouldn't say they're terrible. It's just like their characters just don't allow for them to do anything else. So some of it really does come off as overacting, and other times you really just get the sense that they're trying to make this scene work, but they just can't. Hands down, though, like I will say that the one bright spot in this movie is Liam McIntyre, who plays Satyrus, if I'm not mistaken. And he used to play Spartacus on the TV show, and he's actually really good. I mean, even better compared to everyone else he's with. But really, what I mean by this is that it really feels like he actually, gave his lines some thought, and really, he doesn't have anything to do in this movie, but the few scenes he has, he really tries to invest in this character. But really, of course, you can't just have one good supporting character. Like, the rest of this movie just really falls apart. And Plot-wise, it's a generic plot, which I'm actually fine with. I'm fine if your plot is normal, if you can execute it well. But my problem is this movie kind of forgot that it was about Hercules, and it kind of became this whole gladiator rip-off thing. I mean, the whole concept of Hercules being half human, half god, it's just completely disregarded. I mean, it's mentioned a few times, and there's one scene that's in the trailer involving a sword and a bolt of lightning, and it's really stupid because they never go back to it. You don't really feel like they earn it because at that point you kind of forget he's Hercules. It really. So yeah, all in all, Rennie Harlin just didn't have a good enough vision for this film. I feel like he either got too excited or was trying to seem like edgy and stuff, like by doing all that 300 fast motion, slow motion stuff. But really, it just comes across as a movie that doesn't really try that hard. I mean, other than the production designers who do a decent job and the stunt choreographers who I'm sure put time and effort into doing it, and Liam McIntyre, of course, this movie it's really, really bad. I do, however, want to watch Spartacus now because of Liam McIntyre, so that's kind of a good thing. But yeah, avoid this movie. Don't spend the money to watch it, unfortunately. Kind of makes me feel bad because I've watched Kellen Lutz's interviews and he seems like a genuinely nice guy. Like, he's just so excited to be working. But, dude, like, if Matthew McConaughey and all these other used to be bad actors can turn their careers around, man, if you got a dream, just follow it. You're a nice guy, Kellen. You're a nice guy. Okay, guys, so yeah, first movie 2014, not a very good start, but hey, there's nowhere to go but up from here. So yeah, if you've seen The Legend of Hercules already for some reason, what do you think about it? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree? Whatever you think, just leave me a comment and let us have a conversation.